Welcome to Conversations Live. For more than a decade, we've brought you the best in books, entertainment, celebrity interviews, and current events. When the movers and shakers of the world have something to say to you, they say it to us first. Here's your host, Cyrus Webb.
And welcome back, everyone, to Conversations Live. I'm your host, Cyrus Webb. Glad you all could join us once again. But for our radio audience here in Mississippi at WYAD 94.1 FM and WYADonline.com, I'm glad that you all could be with us. Also, just joining us are our friends at iHeartRadio and Amazon Music Podcast. We're glad you all could be with us as well. We're excited to welcome reporter and author Kyle Buchanan to our program today. He's celebrating a great new book about a film I think that all of us have either seen or heard about, but never knew the stories that Kyle is able to bring us today in this book. The book is called Blood, Sweat, and Chrome, The Wild and True Story of Mad Max Fury Road. We'll talk to Kyle about his incredible reporting and interviews for this book, but also what it was like for him to kind of look at the impact of this film, and, of course, let you guys know how to get the book for yourself. Kyle, thank you so much for the time. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Cyrus.
Kyle, I love the way you really take us on this journey. It really reminds me of the old MTV line, you think you know, but you have no idea. When we think about this movie and the impact it's had, I don't think any of us knew the craziness that went into first creating it, but also bringing it to life. What has it been like for you to be able to share that story now with us?
Honestly, it's a lot of fun because I had those same questions when I watched it. Even when I talked to other A-list directors who didn't make this movie, they can't understand how it was made. Like the director, Steven Soderbergh, he has a great quote about Fury Road where he says, "I don't understand how they're not still shooting that film, and I don't understand how hundreds of people aren't dead." And a lot of people don't. You watch that film, you know it's a crazy wild ride. So it was fun to get to answer those questions and find out just how did they do it.
Yeah. And so I wanted to ask you about the why then, because, people know you because of your own love of pop culture, Kyle, and what you've been able to bring to the table with that. What is it that made you want to be able to tell this particular story?
I've always been fascinated by the way they make movies. It's not just what we see on the screen. There's so much that goes into it, and it's really fascinating and sometimes even kind of inspiring to see that these people make something that is so wild and crazy where they're so often told, no, you can't do it, and still they have the will and the drive to get that film on the screen. I'm just a sucker for spectacle. A really big action movie, I love them. But they're rarely made with as much intelligence and with as much verve as something like Fury Road. So I just knew it was the sort of movie where, not only are the stories behind the scenes incredible and juicy and crazy, but I can write about that movie and never lose interest in it.
Yeah. What is so fascinating to me, Kyle, about the book, and again, I went into it, it was going to be a yes for me to be able to have the opportunity to speak with you anyway because I love great books, but I had no idea even the drama that took place with the cast. Did you know any of that going into it? Is that something that kind of unveiled itself to you as you were doing the reporting and the interviews?
There had been rumors for years that the leads, Tom Hardy and Charlize Theron, didn't get along. They've kind of admitted to it in the past, but by talking around it. And I knew that when I wrote about this set for this book, there would be no talking around it, that we'd have to really get into it. And it's really to both of their credit that they're willing to talk about just why they didn't get along, this big blow-up that they had, and with the benefit of some perspective and maturity, admit that what they did could have been better. This was not an easy movie for anybody to make, but especially when you're the stars and your faces are on the line. They didn't know if they were making a masterpiece or the biggest bomb of their careers. So there was a lot of anxiety, also just a lot of conflict with their very different working methods, and there was bound to be a clash, and there truly was.
Yeah, and I think that is one of the interesting things about this particular film, and also about the book, because I guess for a lot of us, it's kind of interesting now to be able to, to know this, and yet looking at it now, this film has not only stood the test of time, as the old adage says, Kyle, but also everyone talks about this film in some form or fashion, even comparing it to modern-day events. Its name, Fury Road, becomes a part of our conversation. What was it like for you to see how those who made the film didn't even know that was going to be the case?
It was a sort of uncanny thing to be writing this book in the very early months of the pandemic, as we were sort of living through our own post-apocalyptic scenario and putting our own masks on our faces. It's a very influential movie, like you said. It just came out in 2015, but in the years since, not only has it sort of grown in our estimation as just a great movie, but as kind of a prescient one when it comes to the environment, when it comes to global warming and where we're headed, when it comes to its treatment of women or how it tackles resource hoarding by the rich. These are things that you don't really see explored in other action movies. And even with Fury Road, it seems like just a simple chase, right? But there's so much that underpins it that's so much fun for me as an author to get to dive deep in, because these things were really thought through and considered. It's fascinating to hear how they ended up with these ideas.
Yeah, and that also says a lot, Cal, to me, and I saw it in the interviews about even with the uncertainty, still trying to give your best to it, even not even knowing what the final product was going to be like. What was that takeaway like for you, to be able to see how even at the end of the day, these were professionals who now have created something that is something we're still talking about?
I was impressed because I think Charlize as Furiosa is one of the most indelible action performances we've got. And to hear her talk about what it was like to shoot it, she would do these micro shots. Normally a director says, we'll do a take of this scene. It's about 3 minutes long. We'll just shoot it from a bunch of angles. Not George Miller. He didn't write a script. He had thousands of storyboards. So he knew every frame, every shot. And sometimes that's all he needed. Sometimes all he'd say is, Charlize, turn to your left, put your hand on the steering wheel. And she'd say, well, why am I doing it? Like, can I do what happens before and after this? And he'd say, all I need is that moment. So for her to come up with a performance that is still so coherent as it is and feels real and feels visceral and strong, that's a credit to Charlize as an actress, that she knew what to draw from and how to connect with that character, even if she wasn't sure where any shot was going or even where the movie was going.
Yeah. Love it, love it. Kyle, we're so glad you could drop by to talk to us about this. Again, everyone, Cal Buchanan has been our guest. The book is Blood, Sweat, and Chrome, The Wild and True Story of Mad Max Fury Road. It's out, of course, through our friends at Amazon.com or wherever you buy your books, even your local bookstore if they don't have it. I know they'd be glad to order it for you. And Kyle, how can our audience stay connected with you?
They can follow me on Twitter at Kyle Buchanan, and my column for the New York Times called The Projectionist runs online every Wednesday and in print every Thursday.
All right, Kyle, congratulations again, and thank you again for the time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Cyrus.
More than welcome, and we thank your audience for tuning in to another great segment of Conversations Live. Until next time, I'm your host, Cyrus Webb, saying as always, enjoy your day, enjoy your life, enjoy your world. Thank you all for choosing Conversations Live. Now let's go make today amazing. Take care.